I can't promise to take the pain away, but you can know I won't stop trying. I'll be the angel by your side. I will get you through the night. I'll be the strength you can't provide on your own. 'Cause when you're down and out of time, and you think you've lost the fight, let me be the angel by your side. I know it feels like you're running out of faith, 'cause it's so hard to keep believing. Oh, but if I can bring a smile back to your face for a moment, you'll forget all about it. Oh, I'll be the angel by your side. I will get you through the night. I'll be the strength you can't provide on your own. 'Cause when you're down and out of time, and you think you've lost the fight, let me be the angel by your side. 'Cause this won't be the last time you'll need a little hope, but I wanna be the first to let you know. I'll be the angel by your side. I will get you through the night. I'll be the strength you can't provide on your own. 'Cause when you're down and out of time, and you think you've lost the fight, oh, let me be the angel by your side. Oh, let me be the angel by your side. Oh, the angel by your side.
Sorry about that. So good evening, everybody, and welcome to Not for the Fight, a virtual breast cancer survivors dinner. On behalf of Appalachian Regional Healthcare, thank you for being here with us tonight as we celebrate survivors of breast cancer and inspire and empower those that may be in the midst of the fight right now. This year's event looks quite different than what we're used to. We usually have an in-person dinner where we can all kind of get together, share stories, build friendships. That said, please don't let this virtual platform stop you from sharing your stories. We're trying to keep everyone safe during the COVID-19 pandemic, so we've kind of switched everything to virtual. We want you to still share anything that you would like to. So as we move through tonight's events and speakers, please feel free to use the chat box and give support, add an inspirational note, or speak to each other about your journeys. We have two amazing women that are going to speak to us tonight about their own journeys and the lessons that they've learned. Before we get into introductions, let me tell you a little about Appalachian Regional Healthcare and why breast cancer awareness is so important to us. As you may know, ARH is a nonprofit healthcare system operating 11 hospitals in southeastern Kentucky and 2 in West Virginia. We have many different specialties and service lines, and one of those is women's health. Women's health encompasses obstetrics, gynecological services, and breast health, and works with providers and staff across multiple specialty areas to provide high quality, compassionate care to the women and neonates of Appalachia. Our mission as a health system is to improve the health and well-being of the people of Appalachia, and detecting women's cancers early is one of the ways that we hope to achieve that. For those diagnosed, we hope to provide the best possible care. Across our system, we have 12 mammogram units that are all digital, and 2 of those with 3D tomography. We have an automated breast ultrasound machine in our Hazard Breast Center, which allows us to find tumors that may be hard to find in dense breasts. We also have recently implemented new software on all of our mammography machines that helps us achieve the best mammogram positioning, alignment, and exposure for our patients. So it's very, very important to us. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer at some point in their lives. And we all know people that have been affected, whether we are the patient, our family, our friends. None of us are unaffected, and this is usually an issue that hits home for most of us. Our first speaker is one of our own ARH family members that has weathered the storm and, as she says, come out dancing on the other side. Ellen Wright is a 3-year cancer survivor that was diagnosed with breast cancer in October of 2018. As part of her journey, she has undergone chemotherapy, radiation therapy, and several surgeries. She attributes not only her ability to survive, but to thrive to God, family, friends, faith, and excellent medical care. Even though she is an RN, it has been very challenging, and she has learned many lessons that she hopes to help others make their journeys a little easier. Ellen has been nursing for about 37 years, and for 33 of those, she's been with us at Appalachian Regional Healthcare. She started out as a staff nurse, worked various staff and management roles. She was a community CNO and then a community CEO at Whitesburg ARH. And she's been in her current position as the System Chief Nursing Officer and VP of Nursing for ARH for the last 12 years. Her favorite thing about working for ARH is the people that she works for and the organization's commitment to the community, kind of like in presentations like this. Ellen is able to maintain a work-life balance thanks to the love and support of her husband, Tim, her mother, Dee, son, Taylor, and also who is also, a registered nurse that works for ARH. And she has 2 granddaughters, Mackenzie and Olivia. Ellen's free time is spent with her granddaughters, being outdoors, traveling with her husband. Ellen, I am very, very excited to hear more about your journey, and this is where I will pass the mic.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder that we do want to hear your stories as well. So don't forget to chat as we talk about things that you're passionate about or stories that you think would help others benefit. Please add those comments in the chat and others can follow along. The first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to share my very first entry in my journal. I kept a journal during my breast cancer journey, and this was my very first entry, and I thought it was appropriate to read tonight. And so my journey begins. The day you realize the very ground on which you stand is shaken to the core. The earth is crumbling beneath your feet. The day the dark clouds roll in and the wind grows fierce. The rain is blinding and the sun is gone. The fog is so thick you can't even see. In the dark, your worst nightmares reveal themselves. In the day, those greatest fears that come to pass, the day that you truly realize your mortality is real. Psalms 32:7. Thou art my hiding place. Thou shalt preserve me from trouble, and thou shalt compass me about with songs of deliverance. On October the 16th, 2018, my son's birthday marked yet another milestone in my life. That was the day that I discovered a mass in my left chest wall. Being a nurse, I knew the signs were not good. I made an appointment to see my doctor the very next day. I immediately started thinking back, when was my last mammo? When was the last time I done a self-breast exam? Much to my disappointment, I'd missed my mammo. I had not done my breast exams. I couldn't even remember how long. You see, I got a real demanding job. I always over volunteer, obligate myself to a lot of things. I just got so busy caring about others and other things that I had not taken care of myself. I had no family history of cancer, but I do have a long history of not taking care of myself. Eating high-fat diets, not exercising, just contributing to some of my own risk. I often wonder, what if? What if I had done the mammo exams like I was and exams like I was supposed to? I realized it wouldn't have prevented me from having cancer. But if it had been diagnosed earlier, I may not have had to have the mastectomy. I may not have had to have radiation therapy. If only I would have caught it at an earlier stage before it had metastasized to my lymph nodes. My prognosis would have been better and my treatment less harsh. So my first lesson was take time to care for yourself. Don't put off getting your mammograms. Don't forget to take care of yourself. Once you have cancer and you go through radiation and chemo and surgery, you quickly learn you cannot give from an empty well. Now, my next lesson sort of goes along like the old saying, hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. It really taught you how to have patience. It's probably the most unnerving time for me was waiting to start my treatments. I just got diagnosed with cancer. Let's get my treatment started. But no, I had to wait on pathology specimens. I had to wait on MRIs and PET scans for insurance approvals. I often get people who call me and say, how long did it take before they started your treatments? So I know that that is a major point of anxiety for people. All they want to do is get those treatments started. It's a really trying time, but it's a critical time nonetheless. Being a nurse and healthcare provider, I understand how important it is that we get all this information and gather it and make it complete and accurate so that our diagnoses that we get, we're going to be able to get the most appropriate treatment. Now, during that time, I was researching the internet like a crazed person. All the statistics were terrifying. And even more, family and friends who had the best intentions in the world were sharing their horror stories. Just a bit of advice. It's not something that you want to share all your bad experiences with newly diagnosed cancer patients. The best advice I can give you when it comes to that is not everybody is going to have the same experience that you or I have had. The most accurate thing that you could tell anyone is the journey's different for everyone. During that time, I had a coworker who bought me a journal, and she was battling thyroid cancer. And she told me that journaling had helped her during her journey. To this day, I refer back to my journal on days that I need inspiration. You see, once you've walked through the lowest parts of your valleys and you survived, when things start to get rough or tough again, you go back and look and you remember you was able to endure and to overcome. And that gives you the inspiration you need for the fight for today. My next lesson, don't believe everything you read. Once I had my diagnosis, then the next big hurdle was decisions. What is my treatment options? Where do I go to get my treatment? What do I expect? The one good thing about all the research and Googling, I had 3 pages of questions ready for my oncologist. I quickly learned that the internet statistics are all outdated. There is much newer, better treatments out there, and they come out every day. And the survival rate is better than anything that I had read about. I decided to do my treatments at ARH. I knew and trusted all the physicians and staff. I had committed my entire nursing career working to get the best possible care at home. The oncology team worked with me and my schedule for chemo and radiation so that I could continue to work while I got my treatments. I planned my treatments so my worst days would be my days off from work on the weekends. The staff would often fuss at me during my chemo treatments. But you have to realize that was my sanity. It kept me grounded, to have a routine, something to think about besides my cancer, something productive that I could actually do. Every person is different. and every journey is different. But that's what worked for me. I needed to focus on something besides the storm that was raging around me, something that I could control. Being a nurse, I've always assumed the role of a caregiver, but I quickly learned to be humble and to accept care from others. After starting chemo, I had a very special angel, my Aunt Carolyn Spangler. She fixed full course meals and delivered them to my family on the weekends after my treatments. I wasn't able to hardly raise up. I would be so sick, and here she would come, bearing meals for my entire family. She was faithful to do that, up to the very last treatment. I had many others bring food, send gifts, messages, not to mention my social media prayer group that was always encouraging me. I would say, as a friend or a family member, don't ever hesitate to do little things. The person may not be up for a visit, but food for their family, mow their lawn. The smallest of gestures go a long way. Receiving a text or a card in the mail that encourages them may be the highlight of that person's day. You are not imposing. I still have every card, every prayer cloth that I was gifted. They are valuable to me because they show me people cared. Learning to let others help me was hard, but remember, don't be messing with someone else's blessing. When you refuse help, you are robbing others of their blessings. It gives them a sense of purpose. Just like the old saying, it's better to give than to receive. Let them give and be grateful that they cared enough to do it. Cancer has taught me many lessons. I know my strength comes from the Lord. I have learned to embrace the smallest of gifts and life's treasures. Simple things like the sun on my face, holding my husband's hand, the sound of my grandbabies laughing. I have been so fortunate to have my husband by my side and support me every step of the way. Probably one of the most painful parts of having cancer for me was watching my family suffer in anguish, their fears and their feelings of helplessness. Some days I just wasn't able to hide the pain, but that was okay. I do know that there are lots of opportunities to have more support for our family members and our loved ones as they walk this journey with us. And I hope that we can come to find ways to help them as well. We all face storms in our lives. Breast cancer has certainly been more like a Category 4 hurricane for me, bringing fear, chaos, destruction in many aspects of my life. I still battle complications from chemo, radiation, and the surgeries. And as you can see from my very first journal entry, I was so focused on that storm. Since then, I've learned so many lessons and I've seized opportunities that otherwise I would have just let pass me by. We could all easily go on hiding, waiting on the storms to pass over. But what lessons and opportunities are we missing when we focus on the storm? I say, look beyond the storm. Cherish every moment and every breath. My last lesson, and probably the most important one that I want to leave with you, is life isn't about waiting on the storms to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. And I hope you dance. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ellen. You have me tearing up over here. I really appreciate it. So our next speaker, directly after Ellen, is a community advocate, a teacher, a 6-year cancer survivor, and a ray of sunshine. Carla McCarty is a high school guidance counselor at Paintsville High School in Johnson County, Kentucky, and a professor for the University of Cumberland. Carla's support system includes her husband of 26 years, Randy, and her son, Jerry Austin. Carla has her BA in English and her master's in counseling from Morehead State University and her doctorate of education from University of the Cumberlands. I actually had the pleasure of hearing Carla speak about her breast cancer journey at a breast cancer event, I guess like 3 years ago. And I said, I will have her speak on something. So today is the day. We're so happy to have you, Carla. And this is where I will pass the mic to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Danielle. And thank you, Ellen, for that inspiration and sharing that. I couldn't help but know as you were talking that a lot of the things that I'm going to say are very similar and very paralleled to the themes and the things that you talked about. But there's also a few differences in my experience. So it's going to be a good, well-rounded experience from the both of us, I think. As everyone I'm sure is familiar with, there's this whole list of things that people talk about when we talk about preventing breast cancer. You know, eat well, maintain a healthy weight, active lifestyle, exercise, all of these things. Well, I did all of those things. I was constantly doing all of those things. And I had no family history of breast cancer, but yet it still happened to me. So it can happen to anyone at any age, at any time. I felt the first lump. I found the lump myself. I felt it in the shower, and it was August of 2015. It felt like a small marble under my skin, and it was in August. And I can specifically remember that it was August because if anyone works in the school system, you know that August back to school is crazy, hectic times. And so when I found it, I thought, I don't have time to deal with this right now. It's probably nothing. I'm too young. It's no big deal. I pushed it out of my head and I went about my time. In December of that same year, my husband said, did that lump go away? And I thought, I don't know. And I checked and I thought, oh, it's still there. Still felt the little marble. So I thought I better call my doctor and make an appointment. So that's what I did. So if you'll bear with me for just a minute, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to use some pictures to help me tell the rest of my story. Okay, can you see those, Danielle? Okay, so the early winter of 2015 yielded a lot of snowfall. I don't know if you remember that or not, but there was a lot of snow. And these snow pictures were just a few days before my doctor's appointment. Every time I look at these pictures, I see pictures of a family who have no idea how much their life is getting ready to change. On February the 19th, 2015, I climbed onto the radiologist's table at 7:30 a.m. for a biopsy that eventually resulted in my breast cancer diagnosis. It was my 39th birthday. I didn't get the results that day. We had to go home and wait for pathology to come back, but I just knew. I had seen the look on the doctor's face when she used the ultrasound to look at the lump. She had been cheery, she had been pleasant, we were chit-chatting, and her demeanor completely changed. She became very serious, very purposeful, and I just knew. About 7 p.m. a few days later, my phone rang, and it was the doctor. He confirmed what I knew. It was cancer. There was lots of doctor's visits, CT scans, just like Ellen said, MRI scans, bone scans, oncology meetings, surgeries, lots of surgeries. I had 4 surgeries in 7 months. There is a lot of time spent waiting during cancer. You wait for appointments, you wait for tests, you wait for test results, waiting for more appointments, waiting to see if the treatment's effective, and then you have to spend the rest of your life waiting to see if it's going to return. It was during this period of waiting that I learned patience and understanding in ways I had never considered before. If a cashier is rude to me in a checkout line, I started thinking, you know what? Maybe they're waiting to find out what kind of cancer they have too. I started thinking maybe they just found out that their mom has cancer, just like my son did. It really, really changes your perspective. It also changes the way you think about time, how limited it is, how quickly it passes, how precious it is. I found peace during the waiting by taking long walks outside. And these walks led to a new passion that's helped me transform the way that I think, the way that I feel, and most importantly, how I spend my time. And that's hiking. Since my diagnosis, I've hiked from the north end to the south end of the Grand Canyon, the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu, the Mighty Five National Parks in Utah, over 500 miles on the Appalachia Trail, and my favorite adventure so far, I spent 6 weeks following an ancient pilgrimage route of the Apostle James, starting in France, climbing over the Pyrenees Mountains, and walking 500 miles across Spain on the Camino de Santiago. And I was able to share this experience with my son. Many of the things that I have implemented in my life since cancer have evolved as a result of lessons that I've learned while walking on a trail and how I choose to spend my time. So you may not aspire to be a 10K hiker, but it's my hope that these 5 lessons that I'm going to share can be valuable to you and your life during the time that you have. So the first thing I want to talk about is the backpack. And you can see the picture. That's the picture on the left is my son and my backpack in Spain. And then you can see the Grand Canyon, the backpack that I carry through the Grand Canyon. As you can see, those backpacks are quite large. And when you have to carry everything that you're going to need on your back, you really begin to reconsider the value of every item that goes inside, because that thing is heavy. The backpack is a symbol for our personal selves. Be selective about the stuff that you choose to put inside your personal backpack. You have to carry that around, and it's heavy. So you want to make sure that what you choose to carry is only valuable and important. Don't keep extra stuff inside. There's a place on the Camino de Santiago called the Cruz de Ferro, and that means the Iron Cross. And for hundreds of years, every pilgrim who's walked on the trail carries a stone from home inside their backpack. And if you look closely at the pictures, you can see that the stones are piled up around the base of the cross and that we're standing on hundreds of years worth of pilgrim stones. Once a pilgrim arrives at the Cruz de Ferro, you're supposed to cast the stone that you've carried from home at the base of the cross, symbolically lightening your load of yourself and leaving your burdens behind. So think about a minute, if you were standing at the base of the cross, what would you choose to leave there? What would be the baggage that you would be willing to let go? Choose this time now to symbolically think about it and let that go. The second lesson that I've learned is to just keep going. Sometimes there are better things waiting down the road. When you're walking 10 to 20 miles a day, food becomes very important. There were times when we would get to a place that we thought we were going to find lunch or dinner, something to eat, a snack. One time there was no electricity, so there was no options for food. One time the restaurant was closed. There was just lots of times when things didn't work out the way that we hoped they would. But every time that we had to keep going farther, God always had something better in store down the road. So it's important to remember that the obstacles that get in our way are actually God's way of saying He has better things in store for us. What we see as a rejection may actually be His redirection. One day at church, while I was going through treatment, there was a guest preacher there, and he spent much of the sermon talking about storms. He talked about how we were always in one of 3 places. We're either in them, coming out of them, or getting ready to go into them. So I've learned to enjoy the calm moments when they come and to keep reminding myself that storms don't last forever. We just have to keep going. The third thing that I've learned is blisters are bad. People often ask me if I get scared when I go hiking, and the only real thing that I've ever been afraid of is a blister, because blisters keep you from walking. This is significant, and I hope it reminds you to remember to always take care of yourself. Do those self-exams. I was much too young for regular mammograms because remember, I was 38 when I found the lump. So you have to take care of yourself and be proactive. Make sure you're your best health advocate. But it's also important to remember that you have to do more than take care of your physical self. Guard your heart and guard your mind. The words that we tell ourselves become our truth. Don't let negativity in. If social media makes you feel bad, get off that. You don't have time for any of that. And I want to tell you that burnout is not a badge of honor. Cancer called and I listened. There are important things, and devoting yourself to your work and trying to get ahead of the rat race is not one of them. So remember to take care of yourself. The fourth thing is to always do your research about anything and about everything. One day there was a huge, great big climb ahead of us in Spain. So we got up early and we left before daylight so we could get that climb over. Well, turns out because it was dark and we weren't prepared, we went the wrong way. We did have a huge climb that day. We climbed 1 mile up a mountain, the wrong trail. So then we had to climb back down, find the right hill, and climb up again. So make sure that you do your research. Have a plan and know where you want to be and what you want to do, and make sure you have all the information. What are the goals that you have for yourself? How much time do you spend thinking about those goals and planning for those goals? And what are your priorities? Are those the things listed on your calendar? We use calendars and planners to keep ourselves organized, but do the things in your calendar really reflect what you want to do and what you want to accomplish? So think about that. And the final thing that I learned is practice the pause. I don't typically do New Year's resolutions because no one can ever really stick to those anyway. So instead, I've started in the past few years choosing a focus word. And ironically enough, my word for 2020 was the word pause. I didn't know the world was going to take it literally. But I consciously remind myself as I hike to pause and to take time to look around. It's so easy to get trapped in the monotony of putting one foot in front of the other. And if I only focus on that, I miss the amazing beauty that is all around me in nature. We do this in life sometimes too. We focus on getting through the day, getting through the week. We forget that the only thing that we are guaranteed is the present. So embrace the moment, be present. The time will pass. Just don't blink and miss a single moment of it. People love to say that I would love to do that, but I just don't have time. But let's remember that we all have the same 24 hours a day. What we choose to do with that time is another matter. It all comes down to choices, big choices and small daily choices. If someone told you today that you only had a few months to live, what would you do? Why aren't you doing those things now? Are the decisions that you're making today getting you to where you want to be tomorrow? My life is forever divided into two halves, before cancer and after. There are just some things that happen that you can never be the same again. But the fact of the matter is that we are all going to die someday, somehow. All of our time is limited. Do not wait for the unexpected diagnosis of someone, of you or someone that you love, to fully come to that realization. I praise God daily for the mercy that He's shown me because I'm so unworthy of His grace. And I'm also grateful. And I intend to spend every single day embracing another opportunity to see a sunrise and a sunset. As I was going through treatment and preparing for a life of uncertainty, because once you get this diagnosis, it forever alters who you are, I spent a lot of time thinking about those I would someday leave behind. And I made a conscious decision. When the time comes for my loved ones to say goodbye to me, whenever that may be, I want them to know that they should not think of me with sadness, but I want them to reflect on a life loved and well lived, time well spent. And my charge to you today is to be hungry for life. Laugh often, forgive, and live fearlessly. Enjoy the time that you have. You may be an ordinary person, but you can choose to live an extraordinary life. And I very, very truly thank you for choosing to spend your time with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Carla. And thank you, Ellen. Your testimonies were just amazing. I've not had, of course, breast cancer myself, and you have made me feel stronger and inspired. So I can just imagine the lives that you've changed tonight or maybe even the outlooks of the people and the participants that we have today. I appreciate you guys so much. And as you can see in the chat, you have been very inspiring, and our attendees identify with the obstacles that you're having right now and your stories. So thank you so much for telling your stories. If you are an attendee, we are praying for your healing and your continued hope. And please take note of these testimonies that you've heard tonight and what can come of sharing your stories and how they can uplift others. And we encourage you to do that for other people as well. We have to support each other and share our perspectives. And maybe we can help one another to get through those tough times, especially those that are in the midst of the fight right now. So that is our presentation for the night. Thank you guys so much for your participation in the chat. Carla and Ellen, I hope you've been checking out the chat. It's really great. And everyone thinks you've done a wonderful job tonight. And I will say this very last thing, and Ellen, I hope that this doesn't put you on the spot, but I really feel as though we should end in prayer. Do you mind if you do that?
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you very much. Lord, we just thank you today. We thank you for all those that join. God, we thank you for your many blessings in life. God, we just thank you for life in general. We thank you for your son that died for us, that gave us the opportunity for eternal life. God, we know that there are many people out there today. They're in a great battle. We know, God, that they need encouragement. They need faith. They need deliverance, God. And we know that there's lots of loved ones who are striving to help them, and they don't know how. God, we just pray for knowledge for our medical staff and our nurses and how to care for these people. We pray for healing, God, not only of their disease, but their minds and their souls, God. And we just pray that you lift them up and give them the courage and the faith to fight the battles that they face before them. And God, we just pray that they learn to live life to the fullest and to not carry those heavy burdens and loads, Lord, but that they just look to enjoy all the things that you've blessed us with. In Jesus' name, amen. You're mute.
Thank you so much. I was going to say that ends our program for today. If you guys want to stick around and check out the chat, ladies, and see what a great job you've done, please feel free to do that. We want to end, I think, with one of the most important things, and that is, of course, have your mammogram if you're able to have your mammogram. Please encourage friends and family to have their mammograms. And I think Leanne mentioned in the text or in the chat as well that we do offer $50 mammograms throughout the month of October. So if you feel as though that you can't afford it, or you have family or friends that can't afford it, that is certainly the best option throughout the year. And we have that every single year in October. Excuse me. So we would love to have you. We have lots of breast cancer education and events in October, and hopefully, fingers crossed, and pray to God that we're able to get back together next year in person and hold this again. And Ellen and Carla, I would love if you're able to attend.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Have a great night.
You too.